What's up, guys? How's it going? Chad here, and welcome to another evening edition of Chat with Chad. Last week was the first one I tried. I just thought I'd throw it up, and a lot of you guys seemed to like it. I did the top 20 Nintendo 64 games. And so I thought, what could be next? And the obvious progression is to go top 20 GameCube games. I grew up as a Nintendo follower. I didn't get PlayStation. I had Xbox. Eventually. But I was probably most into games back when N64 Gamecube era. And I gotta say, when it came time to go do the Gamecube games, I thought, I don't recall quite as many classic games, so I went and wrote a list, meaning to do a top 20, and I came up with 36 games. So we're gonna go ahead and do top 30, so let's make it a little snappier this week to get through all 30 games. Here we go. Number 30! X-Men Legends 2. That was kind of a dungeon crawler, multiplayer game. I would play with my friends Mike and Adam, and it was a lot of fun. I played as Storm for the most part. I don't think they had Spider-Man at the time. You know, it was a lot of fun. Just a typical dungeon crawler, knocking things down. I remember it was always frustrating, but it was still fun. When some friends wanted to go one way and you wanted to go the other, and you could only do so much because it wasn't split screen and you had to share the screen. X-Men Legends 2, lots of good memories there. All right, number 29, Animal Crossing. This was the very first Animal Crossing, came out on GameCube, and I remember getting it and thinking, this is completely different than anything I've ever played. It was a lot of fun creating your little character, going around the little town, fishing and all that sort of thing. I gotta say, it might rank higher on my list, but I got a little tired of just emailing back and forth to NPC characters. I was like, wait a minute, I'm looking forward to getting home from school or work and emailing Tom Nook or whatever the heck it was. I had to quit eventually. Too many other good games. Obviously, 28 better games. Number 28, SSX 3. This was a snowboarding game. If you guys remember the SSX Tricky game. I loved 3 because it was a bit more, it didn't rely on the tricks as much. It was about more just downhill snowboarding. I used to snowboard. I always loved snowboarding. And the tricks in this weren't as ridiculous. It skewed slightly on the more realistic, and the graphics were great. So SSX 3 right there. Number 27, I got Mario Power Tennis. Now Mario Tennis games are just awesome. If you haven't tried them, check it out. Of course, you had like the clay court that would be slower with the ball, grass courts faster, and it was really fun. It's pretty realistic for Mario Tennis. Number 26, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Who else played that game? Anybody? Because I don't think it was the most popular game in the world. We had our Game Boy Advances, our Game Boy SPs hooked up. There were these port things. You had to hook them up use them as controllers for the game in the GameCube. And this Final Fantasy game was, it was a top-down dungeon crawler, a bit like X-Men Legends. We would get emails from Mother, and it would always play this little music, and it would say, "Dear Mother, today I went," whatever, and it was fun. It sounds weird, but it was fun. Number 25, I have Beyond Good and Evil. This is a game a lot of people have been waiting for a sequel for forever, and I think Ubisoft is actually developing a sequel. There was an HD version of this that came out on the 360 a while ago, Xbox Live Arcade, and it was a cool game. It kind of combined a lot of genres. I remember there was racing, there was like stealth, there was fighting. She had this staff, and she had like this sidekick pig that was like the comedy relief, you know, that kind of 90s wacky comedy relief guy. I should look that up. I don't remember that many details, but it was fun. Number 24, Lord of the Rings Return of the King. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And the Return of the King game, they had a Two Towers one, and this was kind of, you could play as either Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, I believe. Don't quote me on this. I'm just going off memory. I'm just making a list of favorite games, and this is not like factual lists, but the game looked great. The gameplay was great. You're killing all kinds of orcs, and you got that Lord of the Rings music. Number 23, I got Star Fox Adventures. I think this was Rare's last game for Nintendo. I don't think it was originally meant to be a Star Fox game, but either through Nintendo's influence or something, they put Star Fox as the main character, and you had Crystal, the female fox. She was pretty awesome. But you know what? The adventure, the music, all that, just classic Rare. It was real good. Number 22. We didn't skip 20 spots. I have Pikmin 2. You know what? I gotta admit, that's the only Pikmin that I've played. I don't know. I played the second one. Oh, no, I did play the first one. My roommate had it, I believe. And I got into it, was pretty good, and the second one was a big improvement. I really liked the second one a lot. And for some reason, I didn't get that stoked. I never got the third one. If you guys are playing the third one, Pikmin 3, let me know how it is in the comments below. I might have to check that out. Number 21, I have another Nintendo one. This one came out at launch. Luigi's Mansion. You know, you had Luigi with the vacuum cleaner, and the gameplay was really neat. It was cool. I guess at the time, I felt slightly disappointed that we didn't have like a full-blown, big, huge Mario game for the launch of the GameCube. So, but I was getting into other launch games, which you'll see coming up soon here. Luigi's Mansion's still a great game. Number 20, I have Beautiful Joe. Anybody remember those Beautiful Joe games? The second one's probably just as good or better, but I have the first one on here because it was so unique and cool. It had like a, what do you want to call it, 2.5D perspective. It was like a 2D side-scroller that would turn and kind of be 3D. And it was like a comic book character guy, and he had all these crazy powers and moves, and it reminded me a lot of Mega Man on steroids. And you could, I think, slow down time and all that. It was awesome. Number 19, Splinter Cell. I would think of that as an Xbox game. It was exclusive to Xbox for a while, I guess. And I don't know when, but it eventually came out on GameCube, and that's where I played it. And well, what can you say about Splinter Cell? Just some of the best stealth gameplay that you can get. Number 18, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. Well, the Nintendo 64 game made my list for 64, and this one does on the GameCube. It was, again, they improved it in a lot of aspects from the first one. Graphics were great, and lots of multiplayer fun. The GameCube, you're gonna hear me say this a lot, the multiplayer, split screen or co-op, that kind of thing. Almost every Sunday night we'd have the guys over, my roommate and I, and we'd play a lot of games. And a lot of these rank high on my list strictly because of those fun multiplayer times, and Mario Golf is one of them. Number 17, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. I was a big fan of the original Prince of Persia. It came out on PC. I didn't play the PC version. I didn't have a PC back then. But I played the Super Nintendo version of Prince of Persia. It was a 2D side-scroller. It was very unique. It was very like puzzle-oriented. The animations for the time were like, wow, that looks like a real guy. If you look at it now, it doesn't look anything like it. Anyway, that's the Super Nintendo one. Sands of Time was really great. A lot of the same concepts. It was a full 3D game though. It was a lot of fun. The only thing I didn't like was they had like the Sands of Time itself. If you fell, you could rewind, up to a certain point. And that kind of took some of the challenge out. A lot of the platforming and from crazy scary heights and stuff didn't seem as scary as it should because of that Sands of Time thing. But obviously a great game at number 17. 16, Super Monkey Ball. I think this came out that GameCube launch. And I think I was just excited and wanted to buy some games. So I bought Super Monkey Ball, not knowing what to expect. And it turned out to be just a total blast. Single player is so simple. You just move the analog stick and you control this monkey in a ball around all these puzzle levels and try to just get them to the goal. But after a while, it got so challenging and really cool. But what really puts this over the top for me is, again, the multiplayer. There was a mode, and you would just take turns rolling the monkey down this big ramp and flying off into the sky and then opening like a parachute, but it was just the ball. It would just open up like that, and you would float down onto these targets, and it was a lot of fun. Where am I? Number 15, Resident Evil the Remake. So it's a remake of Resident Evil 1 on the GameCube. The graphics were like unmatched at the time. It was a really scary game. You're talking classic Resident Evil when it was all about survival horror, conserving your ammo, and puzzles were great, and it was very scary. And we gotta say again, the graphics really helped on that one. Number 14, I have Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Now, I'm a huge Metroid Prime fan. Echoes is just an excellent game. The fact that it's at number 14 here speaks to how many great games ended up on the GameCube. I was surprised making this list. I thought, Metroid Prime at 14, what the heck? But that's the proper spot for it. For me, just almost as good as the first one, but I thought the style of the second one was super cool. They had these dark world things, and the dark world and the light world, and the abilities and stuff were cool. I guess just because the first one was so unique and everything at the time, the second one didn't seem quite as awesome to me. 13, Super Mario Sunshine. This is the only 3D Mario game that came out on GameCube, and it's a great game. It's a little tough to rank it because there's not that much wrong with it. Just the fact that it's all on the sunshine and all on the beach and stuff. You don't have the snowy levels and all those things you're used to, and The camera could be a problem at times, but what I really loved about this game was Flood, which is the backpack, or you can spray things with it. The spraying was pretty cool, but using Flood as the backpack and jumping and flying and floating around as Mario, and then jumping on those like trampoline tightrope things, that was awesome. I'm gonna have to pull that out again, but not until summer. Can't play that in the winter. All right, number 12, Star Wars Rogue Leader, which is Rogue Squadron 2. This came out at the GameCube launch. I remember playing the demo in the store, waiting for GameCube to arrive. And oh, it was just awesome. You're flying the X-Wing around the surface of the Death Star, and there's lasers flying all over. The graphics were excellent. It still looks good, actually. It was just so great because you could unlock, you know, the Millennium Falcon, you could unlock Slave 1. Of course, you did the Hoth mission and all that. And well, I love Star Wars, so just flying all those missions was great. And of all the Rogue Squadron games, this one was the best one, I would have to say. Number 11, I have Wave Race Blue Storm. You know me, I love arcade racers. I've been talking a lot about them lately. And this is another one I got at launch. Jeez, GameCube actually had a really good launch for not having like Mario or something. The tracks were great, the controls were great, but the water physics and big waves, sometimes there'd be rain. A lot of times the tracks would feel real smooth, and then other times it'd just be huge waves and it would alter the race. Number 10, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. I have 4 in there, even though all of them were great, especially 2, 3, and 4. 4 stands out as my favorite. That's when I was most into it. I was totally hooked on this game. It wasn't like a realistic game, but trying to keep a combination going, taking the half pipe and doing a bunch of spins and landing and going into the, what the heck is it called? Where you go up and down on a stick and you, what the hell is that called? I'm gonna flash it on screen when I look it up. All right, number 9. I'm currently playing this game again right now. Eternal Darkness. Remember that one from Silicon Knights? It was a great story. It was like one of the few horror games or mature games on, I hate that term for video games. It was one of the more adult-themed video games on the GameCube. It had the story that spanned over maybe a couple thousand years. You know, you would go back and you'd play like a chapter as a Roman, and then a chapter as like a, Arabian guy, and then you'd play modern day. You'd be in this mansion that was creepier than heck. Okay, I'm playing it again right now, and I thought, well, dated game, this ain't gonna be creepy, and it still is creepy as ever. It's the sound design. It's like babies crying when you're going to the mansion, and you'll be walking towards the door and all of a sudden it knocks really loud and it's like, what the heck? Seriously felt like PewDiePie when I looked in the bathtub recently. If you remember the bathtub scene from Eternal Darkness, it was, whoa, scary. But I played that game probably 5 times through. All right, number 8, F-Zero GX, the best F-Zero game in my opinion. This one was actually made by Amusement Division, Sega. They helped out here. Did an awesome job. The graphics were amazing. Really, like a lot of times you could see through the floor and there's all kinds of textures and stuff. So when you're driving like 1,100 kilometers per hour or whatever the heck it says on the speedometer, you feel like you're going so fast. And it's a great challenge. That's what I love about this game. I didn't even finish it back when I was playing it. I played it maybe for months. Never finished it. It was too hard. I finally gave up. And I'd say like 2 years later, I went back and finally beat those last tracks that you unlock. It's crazy. But I love that game. All right, number 7, Resident Evil 4. This was a very revolutionary game in the series. Kind of went more slightly adventure. And it just had a great style. And you had the guy with the sack over his face with the chainsaw, and it was scary. And Leon was kick-ass, and the girls in the game kicked butt. And it was just an excellent adventure game. Still survival horror, and I really liked it. All right, now we're getting down here. Look at this. Number 6, Legend of Zelda. Which one? Number 2. Wind Waker. I got Wind Waker at number 6. I was actually online when Nintendo first showed that trailer, and I don't know if you remember. They showed the trailer of Toon Link, and it was cartoony, and everyone was like, what the hell's that? It was kind of like the modern day Ben Affleck Batman. Everybody threw a fit about it. Nintendo's so stupid. Why would they make this like Looney Tunes? So terrible. Nintendo needs to die. And of course, Wind Waker is the one game that never aged. Still looks great. Well, they just came out with the HD version, new lighting system and all that. And I just got that. Playing it again, it's still awesome. I love it. I thought there weren't as many dungeons, and some of the seafaring got a little tiring. As much as I love the seafaring music, that music in the seafaring, and just going across the seas, and you got the sunset, and you changing the direction of the wind. And number 5, I have Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Now I give this one the edge slightly because it felt like a more complete game. There were lots of dungeons. Felt like just overall a more epic quest. I probably spent more time on it. I played through it probably 3 times. Wind Waker I did a couple. This one just had lots of great items. The spinner and all that. Tons of great boss fights, and what really puts it over the edge for me is the double hook shot, where you're kind of like Spider-Man. You do a hook shot over there, and then you swing over here, and that was just really cool. The first time I played through Twilight Princess, I thought, oh man, not as good. I didn't like the graphical style as much. The people's faces looked weird. But the second time I played it, I thought, what the heck was I thinking the first time? This is the best. And I would probably put it right behind Ocarina of Time as my favorite Zelda game. Number 4, Mario Kart. Here we go. Mario Kart was missing from my last list. I heard a lot of flack from you guys about that on the Nintendo 64. For some reason, I just didn't get into it. I was into all the other games on there, but Double Dash, now this could have easily, these next few games are all basically tied. Because Double Dash, when I'm talking about playing with my friends, this was like one of the games we played more than any other. We had those tracks memorized. We could probably play it with our eyes closed. And but the competition was great. And even Baby Park, the one that's just a little circle, you go over and over. We spent forever on that on the time trials, trying to do the power slides and beat each other in the time trials. Great game. All right, number 3, Soul Calibur 2. Soul Calibur 2. This was probably my first serious fighting game, so to me it felt new and exciting. They had Link from Legend of Zelda as a bonus character on GameCube. The single player unlocking things, I even had a blast with that. I'd sit and play this game solo in the single player forever, but the real fun was, and I gotta say, my friend Paul and I were probably the most hooked on it. Everybody would play it, but I'd go to Paul's and we'd just sit for hours. He was Voldo, and I was either, I did a lot of Keelik, but I switched to Jean-Hua after a while. She's awesome, I love that. Soul Calibur 2, and I still love the Soul Calibur series, but the second one has a special place in my heart. Forever. All right, number 2, Metroid Prime. Samus? From Metroid, Super Metroid in first person? Well, no, how they gonna do that? The fans know best. That's not gonna work. Samus is a 2D game. How stupid is Nintendo? It turned out to be like the best. I would barely call it a first person shooter. It's a first person adventure. It feels like an adventure game. You have all the different levels to go through and collect your items and fight these creatures, boss fights. It feels like kind of a Zelda, but in first person, and also in more of a sci-fi setting. But the graphics at the time were just excellent. I remember running through like steam. There'd be like steam coming down, and it would get on your visor, because she wore a visor, and you'd have steam on your visor, and it would slowly drip off, and all the music, just the feel of it it's hard to explain, but the whole feel of the game between the music and the really unique environments and stuff was really cool. And I gotta say, graphics matter. I always felt like when you're sitting there in a video game looking around going, wow, just look at this. If you can just stand there and pause and look at the grass waving and look at the sky and think, that looks great, I just love it. I think graphics matter. That's why I'm a little concerned about Nintendo these days. They seem to put graphics second. And I gotta say about Wind Waker, the graphics on the HD version look amazing. I would say just make them all. Make them all like that. Next Zelda, do that style. Doesn't have to be light and cheery. It can be like Majora's Mask, dark and mysterious, but still have that cel-shaded look, and it wouldn't age. They should just go for that. I love it. All right, finally, after all very long talk, I'm at the number 1 game, and you guys all know what it is now, Smash Brothers Melee. I think the best of the Smash Brothers games. Brawl was awesome, but I love the levels, especially in Melee, and I thought the gameplay was a little tighter, more balanced, maybe? I don't know. You got all the Nintendo characters fighting, and there's like 30 plus characters, so everybody, no matter who you play with, everyone's got their different favorite. It's somewhat simple to pick up and play. Anybody can pick it up and have a blast, but the more into it you get, the more complicated it can get. We would just play this game until it got light out. Hours would just disappear. The guys would come over at night. Next thing you know, it's 7 a.m. and say, oh my gosh, we played Smash Brothers Melee all night. And so I'm really excited about the next game. I hope it's as good as Melee was. And I guess that's it. You know, they could really put out a Smash Brothers game every 2 years as far as I'm concerned, and I would buy it. So that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you like the little chat with Chad I'm doing here. It's just something a little extra to do. Angie's downstairs working on some costume stuff that I maybe shouldn't talk about it, but it's got something to do with something you might put on your face. I didn't say that. And if you guys have any ideas for future topics in Chat with Chad, top 20 360 games, I might alter into something else. We might veer away from lists and just do a little bit of opinion stuff, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Just share some gaming memories in the comments below. I love checking it out. And we'll see you next week on Chat with Chad. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.